welcome to TFT Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with
Oberon.
me, Banshee, and
Sunny
stealing the show.
And this is
your Weird Week. So, what a bad week it was.
What a horrible week it was.
And yet we had good cards.
I know.
We got some splaining to do, don't we?
How are we going to roll with this? Well, Banshee said I could try my hand at giving a narrative, and so I'm going to just
I passed the buck.
Lay it down and supposedly not so dirty. But okay, our focus of the week was the sun upright. And of course, the sun itself is about finding out things. It's about filling yourself with knowledge or filling yourself with something bright. Well, maybe that was the focus of the week. We were going to find out stuff.
And we did.
That's for sure. So let's just quickly move to what the second card is, what we would actually find out or see or hopefully see. And that's the Knight of Pentacles upright. And I think what we need to find out and see is that we have to go slow and steadily towards our wins, whatever they are, wherever you are on whatever side of political or whatever ideological things go. You know, last week may have disappointed more than just one set of people. Could have, really.
Well, I don't know how that card fits with disappointment. That's the only thing. But I'm
talking about last week. I'm saying the card suggests that what we need to find out is that we will have to keep moving steadily. Towards winning.
And that was what we'll find out. Okay.
Yes. So then the next card, the other perspectives to consider, and it's the King of Swords. And I think this is saying what we have to consider is that justice is a two-edged sword. Like the man and the sword, it may work for or against us. And that in this sense, we have to understand that. We have to understand that maybe it's not over because we haven't really arrived at the solution that best fits the people. So then card 4, the overall impact. This might be the one where I'm hedging a little bit here, or maybe I did that with the sun since the sun didn't really have a lot to say for us. But the Ace of Swords upright, the overall impact, well, maybe that says we're still in this time of judgments and decisions, of trying to clarify, find things, provoke things, move things. There is definitely some things that will be provoking action for sure. Whether it will really amount to doing what is needed, it's hard to say. Finally, what can win the weird? And just as the Knight of Pentacles suggested to me that we need to find out how we can move steadily towards our wins, this Knight says what could win is if we continue to try to move forward towards love, whatever that is. I'm done.
Do I get to say anything?
I thought the original deal was you were letting me say things.
Yeah, but even you, when I do my thing, gets to speak. And so here it is.
Speak. Woof.
He's right. What we found out is the major focus was we found out stuff. We found out we were enlightened as to the court's frame of mind, the Supreme Court's thinking on a variety of different issues. Thank the powers that be on high that at least had the Supreme Court have the logic to not change the North Carolina voting law to give legislatures ultimate power over the people's vote. My gosh, at least the buck stopped there.
You know what else I realized we found out? Almost all of the 3 or 4 justices that were confirmed in the last few years since Trump became president all said, that's precedent. We're not going to mess with that. That's settled law. And
that
most
particular
of us,
law?
I'm just talking about in general the things that did happen last week.
Okay.
Most of us thought they're saying that. They're just saying that. Abortion, Roe v. Wade, other things. They said that's settled law. They lied. They did not stick with the idea that they were not going to mess with settled law. And we found that out.
Thank you. This was my time to talk.
I just wanted to interject that like you interject so many things.
And also remember, where you may feel they lied, other people are all in on what happened.
But being all in doesn't mean that they didn't lie. they did lie.
So number 2, the Knight of Pentacles upright. What will we find out or see the mysteries? We'll find out that, I almost feel with the Knight of Pentacles, there's this whole idea of a slowdown, and it just seems like society is kind of slowing to a halt and moving backwards.
Isn't that more the reverse?
With different laws and stuff. Well, the Knight of Pentacles moves slowly, and I feel that ploddingly and methodically. And, that's the way change is going to go from here forward. We kind of are in a quagmire right now. I think that's what we have found out.
We literally took it back to the era before civil rights, where it was just hard getting there.
Card 3, the King of Swords, which we read both upright and reversed. And I think Mr. O handled that one pretty well, but I would add to that, what other perspectives need to be considered here is that, yes, this is why I like you using, I would have used a double-edged sword for the Ace of Swords, but the King wields that double-edged sword too. And that is the halls of justice and how it can swing wildly either way. And it has swung to both extremes in the past. So I think that's what we have found out, is like, oh my gosh, this power that they wield, is it too much? Is it destructive? Is it really constructive anymore? There's a lot of thought that has to go into this. Card 4, what is the overall impact? The Ace of Swords upright. Somebody won. And I know he was saying different things, but somebody won. There are a lot of people who back what happened here, including the person who, brought up the phony case that never existed. It's like, somebody won and they're very happy with it, right?
You're right. I kind of didn't read that one right.
But number 5, the Knight of Cups reversed. Well, you know what? There is a lot of unhappiness. There's going to be more dissension based on what happened here. So it's not going to win the weird week because it has set emotions on fire. We have heard people saying very logical today to make assumptions like, well, if you're not going to serve gay people or if affirmative action doesn't matter to you anymore, then, maybe I don't want to serve white radicalized Christian nationalists in my restaurant. Maybe I don't want to make you a cake for your birthday, and where is this going to lead? Is it only one place? Is it only one mindset that's going to be able to ban another? This opened up a horrible, divisive can of worms on all sides. And I feel, frankly, the other side, the side who's been most aggrieved by these decisions should use it. I hate to say it, but you got to sometimes fight fire with fire, and I'm sort of that mindset.
Well, you know what? When you look at it all together, though, especially the horrible problems that are happening with heating right now, what's going to happen? We looked at, not in the show, but we ourselves looked at Hamtramck recently and what happened there with an all-Muslim Islamic governing board there. What happens when people do start abandoning hot Texas, Florida, or wherever, moving to places like Michigan and changing the balance of our state and saying, hey, we don't like you being a purple state. We want to make you a red state. What is going to happen?
I don't know if that will ever happen. It's just hard to say, but I do feel
those people are going to move somewhere when it gets too hot.
The Hamtramck thing also shows what happens when, when we allow church and state to mingle. And this is the same thing that's happening with LGBTQ in this decision. And I feel here we should have, we should have courts that really maintain the Constitution and the separation of these things, church and state.
Here's what really gets egregious, in my opinion, is the idea that if all these people are really very much about the belief in Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. But Jesus never said anything about abortion or gay people.
Okay.
You can't find it anywhere in the New Testament.
Well, you know what? Before we have to cut out everything we said because we're getting too political. And yeah, this is kind of irritating to me because I think it's just a total travesty what happened here. Total.
Let's get going.
Let's get going and see where this is all leading us in the week ahead.
Very well. From the Twin Tarot Oracle deck, Banshee will be doing our major focus, our theme, our tone for the week.
For the week ahead.
The weird week.
So we don't mean to turn people off from other political persuasions, hey, you know.
That's why we're throwing Sonny's legs into the picture there.
Our therapy cat.
Yes.
You know, I understand people have a lot of heat contesting these issues. But once one business decides to discriminate against a certain segment of a population and it's legalized, then others will feel they have the same right. And where are we? Where are we as a society? So, oh boy. Anyway.
I'm against left-handed people. Hey, that happened like 500, 600 years ago, and we saw how that ended up.
Okay. Well. We're a little hot under the collar here. Let's see what happens this week. Let's see what we can do.
Major focus.
It's reversed. It's the Fool.
So I show it reversed?
No, because
Oh,
that
okay.
is reversed.
Oh,
but
right,
it's got
that's
the
right.
purple border.
It's the Fool reversed.
Yeah. Well, what a misstep. What a tangled web we weave, or will be weaving. There's some major misstep happening this week. What could it be? You know, is it the courts? The courts are done. They've made, you know, it's funny how they wait till the end of their session all the time to lay the smack down. And
But is that how the
Yep.
the public hue and opinion works this week about the misstep here? Or is
I don't
this
know.
about something else?
This could be about something else, most definitely. You know, we've got some missteps going on in Ukraine. People are worried about the nuclear plant there, you know, and possible even a nuclear attack happening. The Prigozhin thing that went wrong, there could still be repercussions coming from that.
The easing of the mandate in Texas to give outdoor workers water breaks.
Oh, my goodness.
That could be a very big
This
misstep.
is coming up in the news with all the heat waves going on there in Texas. And it could be a number of other things that are happening. We'll stay tuned and see. But needless to say, somebody is making some miscalculated risks, some gambles, some decisions they should not make.
Twitter.
Good
Missteps.
point. Good point. There are a number of bigger political and other organizations that are moving from Twitter after this latest move from Elon Musk. What a good point. But that started at the end of this last weird week, which is interesting too, and we didn't bring that up, but I don't know how the cards would fit to that.
I'm not sure where that might have fit. So anyways, I'm going to use my Secrets Tarot, and we're going to pull a card to suggest what we will find out. What are mysteries that we may find out or will find out. And I love the Secrets Tarot. It used to be a regular reading deck of mine a few years back. I'm glad to be able to use it in this context. So let's see what the card is, what we will find out or hopefully can find out. This has happened before here, I think. It's the Knave or Page of Wands. And it's upright, so this is possibly suggesting a communication that brings some good news. Maybe it offers a potential somewhere along the way. It could be business related or networking related.
It could be business related, maybe possibly governmental, but I'm not sure I see that.
Yeah.
I feel here that this has to do with some positive message coming through, some positive thing. Honestly, I'm not sure how it would apply to that, but let's just see what happens here. Maybe out of some really horrible misstep, you know, something good will come out of it. You know, sometimes that's the way the world works is, you know, we have to make a major error before we can right things once more.
Well, another thing I didn't mention about the possible misstep could be something science related. You know, there's always somebody trying to experiment with something interplanetary or bottom of the ocean or fusion energy concerns. And maybe, you know, a misstep could happen that still brings some sort of news that maybe is helpful. We know you can't go to Pluto, what, without protection? I don't know. anyways, we both shuffle the deck for the third card because it's our joint deck. And of course, the card meaning itself is about what other perspectives may need to be considered. So we want to have both of our hands on that. So here you go. And of course, it's the Tarot of Oppositions, which is similar to the Twin Tarot deck, Oracle deck, but not exactly. But it does encompass the idea of using both cards reversed and upright in its interpretation. So what is that card? What are the perspectives we might want to consider? And it is the reversed Queen of Cups. Although we can also look at the upright Queen of Cups for some amount of an idea there. So perspectives to consider is that there could be some real emotional ranges here, possibly veering even into upsetting and, I won't say dangerous, but people making, once again, bad mistakes or mishaps because they are so emotionally not stable.
You know, we haven't talked about some other world issues going on, like Paris and France, not just Paris, France, you know, is going through a lot of turmoil now and a lot of emotionality over a shooting that happened there. But, you know, I think a lot of that, I'm not going to say it's not justified, it's not misplaced. It may be misplaced, though, because you know, there have been so many other things that the people in France have been upset about lately. So things are getting to a boiling point there. And so we have to factor some of these other world things going on too. But I will say that it looks as though that whatever's going on, you know, there's some emotional turmoil here. There are highs and lows, you know, associated with this. And again, it might be something that divides us. Since I don't think there's any more Supreme Court action going to happen, this could be other matters.
The fallout that goes on from here.
Maybe, but yes, maybe, because, you know, now we're going to see how this all plays out. Will for example, gay people not be allowed into certain establishments anymore? And, you know, because they'll just put up a sign. You know, is this going to be like not Jim Crow era, but I mean when civil rights were no blacks allowed, there's going to be no gays allowed?
Well, it actually goes even worse than that in a way, you know, when you're talking about people who just, you know, it sounds like making people lepers or untouchables.
And what about affirmative action too? You know, are people going to be afraid to, you know, they're going to feel they have no options now? They won't maybe try to go to colleges that they wanted to try to
How would you feel if you realize that you're going to have 20,000 or more in debt that you won't be able to easily get rid of?
Could this also be about the student loan decision? We also forgot that that one has been decided by the courts, and President Biden is trying to figure out a new plan. Will it be a misstep, or will he be trying to resolve this misstep through a plan that he is going to put out there and, you know, and try to...
Somebody's still unhappy about it, though.
Well,
it's both perspectives.
Some people will never be happy. Some people don't want to see the students not pay it all.
But you know, that card is really better sideways in a way, so because we're supposed to consider both sides of it.
I am, and I'm just saying, some people will be happy, but some people will not.
I'm just saying that for myself.
Happy.
Okay, so I guess we should move on to card 4, the overall impact with the Healing Light
with
Tarot.
My Healing Light Tarot.
And once again, that is a Banshee card deck.
And I gotta make sure I don't have the extra cards in there. Okay, there we go.
So, Mr. Sunman.
So the overall impact. This is another very vague reading. Oh my gosh, why is that one turned over this way? I'm going to leave that there for a minute. That's not the card, but that's interesting to me. Ooh, the overall impact, the Hierophant reversed will become more conservative.
In this context, there's no wiggle room for looking at it differently.
I don't know. Maybe there is. It's really interesting here because in this deck, when I cut it, it cut to a card that was upright, the Ace of Swords, which is intriguing again. I would say here that this is a card of maybe
societal norms, maybe forces in society saying this is the way it needs to be. You know, we don't need to, cater to non-religious people.
But is the overall impact that this is being questioned? Maybe?
Well, that could be the idea there. The idea that maybe the Hierophant says there is a juncture or intersectionality between society, especially when there is so many divisions in our society. Everything is very divided in our society. Who are these people who are the morally, elite here? Are they? Why are they? Should they?
Go ahead.
Well,
let's see what could win the weird week, and then we've got to rehash this because it's not all clear, but I have a few ideas already.
For the winning card, or the hopefully winning card, we use the Global Fusion Intuitive Tarot. It's colorful and more or less cast as the Rider-Waite kind of imagery. There are a few surprises here and there. Global Fusion. What can hopefully win the weird? And it's the reversed Knight of Wands. So he's kind of a corollary to the Knave, perhaps, though not the same deck. But the reversed Knight of Wands maybe is something that is sort of defiant in a way. Maybe it's anti-charisma, anti-bravery, but it could also maybe be saying this is a retreat. Maybe this is somebody who is shying away from confrontation. Maybe this is somebody who's shying away from being able to speak truths, or maybe this is saying that truth is not the winner here, or bravery is not the winner. And of course, a lot of times when people are severely challenged by the kind of laws that are possibly coming, they may say, I need to retreat from this, the closet thing.
I don't know how I feel about the Knight of Wands here.
I know, I'm not sure either.
It's not, obviously, it's not going to win the weird week. It is not
Nope.
a winning card. I feel like there's some backpedaling here. There's some resistance.
Subterfuge.
I think there's some resistance. And it may be a retreat. I never thought of the Knight of Wands throwing up a white flag, but I could almost see the Knight of Wands just allowing people to kind of walk all over him.
Well, maybe there's something reckless and risky about it, too.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
But I also think the Knight of Swords might be a little bit more the reckless character.
Okay, true that.
However, I keep thinking that maybe, sometimes the Wands cards, they can be a little hot-headed too. They're fiery,
Oh, yeah.
And so I almost feel like some mistakes could be made. I can't help but wonder if the Knight of Wands and the Fool are related here. That this
first and last.
And, can we kind of recap along with this,
Let's do it.
Because when I look at this Fool reversed here, I worry about accidents. I worry about not just taking a foolish risk, although I think that really could be indicated here, that it could cause an accident to happen.
And we're in the era of accidents. We've had some major accidents that have caused big problems. A highway collapsed, a train sent fumes. Those are just in America. What about the rest of the world?
What about the rest of the world? I mean, we have a nuclear facility in the middle of a war zone. We have what's going on in France right now. Perhaps this Fool Reversed is about, how the French are handling the situation with the shooting of the civilian, by police. And maybe the misstep is going to be there, and there's going to be more trouble. I think here, when we look at, well, do you want to add to that?
No, that's a good observation. I like where you're possibly going. So
what we find out or see is that messages, there's going to be news. I think, hopefully it's good news that whatever is happening can be contained, maybe. I'm hoping, or that there can be some solution. So again, maybe this is about the affirmative action thing, not affirmative act, yes, the affirmative action thing, because on the one hand here, it's about righting a misstep that's perceived by the Supreme Court, but also what many people have argued that the way President Biden made this student loan forgiveness program happen through the CARES Act, I think, was not the right way to go, and that it was destined to be overturned in a court. So maybe that's the problem here, and it's about writing that. And a message will come out that will try to right this decision.
Well, to some degree, wands can involve education and higher education, so sure. And the pages too, they're student types.
And so, what other perspectives need to be considered? There's just a lot of division. There's a lot of emotionality going on right now, a lot. And these are really turbulent times for all of us, partially too fed by an out of control climate. So much heat in the atmosphere. Heat invokes and inflames, our emotions, right?
People maybe aren't hydrated enough, and the lack of water in our systems could also affect mental acuity.
So I wonder, too, if climate isn't here. I'm hearing more and more about climate being at the point of no return, all these different things. We've made some really bad, risky maneuvers here in, not tackling this problem. The forest fires, for example, out of control, and how forests are managed or not. It seems like it's always a problem when there's a problem, and they don't do any forward thinking on this. So maybe some good news will come out, and people are concerned. People are getting emotional about this, do you want to sit in your house all summer because the air is too hard to breathe out there, or it's too hot for you to do anything? These are things to consider. So what is the overall impact?
And it's the Hierophant upright.
Well, maybe it's about looking at our established laws and how we are interpreting them. Maybe basically, this is about following the law, but the Hierophant is about the law and rules and order in general. And so I think the overall impact is we're taking a harder look at this.
It's a sober look at society.
We're taking a harder look at the Supreme Court too, and the fact that there's no term limits, the fact that it can be as partisan as it is, there's and that they are actually now enacting more like a legislative body than a court of law, unbiased law. And this is a problem. And I think we need to look at that.
So then finally, we do come to what could, or we think not, win the weird week, and it's the reversed Knight of Wands.
I think we're dealing with a lot of recklessness, whether it's reckless decisions, missteps that are taking us back.
It's false bravado. It's false bravado trying to be brave, but it's really not. So it's
being reckless in the face of obvious issues with our planet right now, too, and what we need to do about it. Even if you don't believe that it's man-made, isn't there a way we should be thinking of trying to do what we can to mitigate this somehow?
Right. Are we totally uninured to the idea that climate is changing? Very much so. Weather patterns are changing, and whether it's man-made or not, this could be bad for us.
Shouldn't we all be trying to work on solutions? Or are we willing to fall recklessly off this cliff?
Historically and globally, these things have happened over eons, thousands, hundreds of years. The greatest floods or the greatest heat waves happen. There's a drought. The drought that caused great famine in America was just less than 100 years ago.
So there's a lot to think about for this next week. Wait, and guess what? The good news is we haven't brought up Trump at all in all of this.
So yeah, in a
I'm
way, I think these cards mostly point to things maybe about the climate, but also maybe a little bit about some of the unease that lies in our populace. And not just here, France was mentioned too. And, you see that also in how Ukraine and Russia are dealing with things, or other world communities. There's a lot of friction going on.
But okay, I'll just throw one thing out there. You never know if Mr. Reckless might say or do something that could put his own case in jeopardy here, and make a misstep that could hurt him in the week ahead. But we'll see. I don't see anything there per se. I'm going to keep a very open-minded mind about this reading, the same as I did about last week's, and let's just see what happens in the next episode. Oh, you wanted to add something?
I was going to say, when we are talking about Mr. Reckless, it is always about, something that is just so large that it sucks the atmosphere away from any other events. So this could also be moved into service of that, depending on how things go.
I'm going to hopefully say no. Just say no.
We'll
have 2 weeks without a Trumpian issue. But, we'll just have to see what happens in our next episode of Your Weird Week.
Yes,
well, take care, everybody. Sorry if we got a little too hot-headed there with our politics.
Too hot.
But, we're all entitled to our opinions. Take care. And we, and Sunny, no doubt, will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.